Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Nerdy stats of the day make their return in this episode, and I've got a crazy one about preseason football.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan of the Wide Left Substack. Sam asked me for a particular cold open. I will not do that. Instead, I will inform you all that I am going to dox Luke Braun, and he has given me the tools to do so.
Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and I should be more scared of that, but I don't think I am.
Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. 52 hours until Vikings football is back, but who's counting, really?
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next-level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What's going on, everybody? I'm back. Welcome to the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. We are live on YouTube, the Locked On Sports Minnesota channel. Please subscribe. We're also available audio-wise on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Also the Sirius XM app. Lots of ways to watch and listen. We do this every Monday and every Thursday on Locked On Sports Minnesota. You met the Lukes, you met Arif. I'm Sam Ekstrom. It's game week. Vikings with preseason football on Saturday against the Las Vegas Raiders. Luke's got it down to the hour. He's counting.
We completely lost Sam's microphone.
I'm sure he's saying good
hear
stuff.
Anything.
This is excellent. God, I love being on a live show.
I'm sure
This is incredible.
He's got nothing but glowing
Does he know
remarks.
yet?
Yeah.
Oh, now
Seems
he's
like he doesn't.
got the muted sign. This is the best intro ever.
Oh,
And he's
my God.
gone.
Oh, he left.
That's our host.
Oh, we're back. Oh,
Inman,
no.
I
I'm
think
taking
it's
over.
you
He got
now.
Wally Pipp.
Yep.
I'm
The
taking
rules
over.
of seniority. I think you're the pilot.
While
now.
we're waiting for Sam, this episode of the Minnesota Football Party is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
That was phenomenal teamwork right there.
That was
A that was
We
A
got
plus
there.
work
We
right
got there.
That was
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
So odds that Sam is just run into his TV and he's watching more Olympics right now. He just can't get enough. Is that the deal? Jeff was here. Says
It'll be a strong move.
Reasonably high odds, but he's the type to panic in this situation. He's going to try to log back in, despite the fact that I think he has logged technically enough minutes to submit an invoice. So don't know why he's worried.
I'm just
That's
here
what I'm saying.
so I won't get fined. Okay, I'm just here to collect that paycheck. Hey, by the way, speaking of paychecks, here comes Sam. Okay, let's get Sam back into it.
Speaking of paychecks,
Okay.
Whoa. How we doing?
You're back. Are we back?
yeah. Hey, what's going on?
Let's
We
get
did the
him.
ad read, by the way, so
Yeah,
don't worry
LinkedIn.
about that.
LinkedIn.
I got
Luke Braun
that-
was
got
all
that
over
one
it.
in.
Luke Braun was
That was
all
incredible.
over it. Luke Braun just pulled a Josh Dobbs in the Atlanta game with the LinkedIn ad read.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Yeah.
Just
When we get to nerdy stat of the day, it'll be my Bears game.
gotta
Oh.
be your Bears game. Yeah.
I mean,
The
I'm
litigation
equally
we
excited
could've
to watch
faced.
that, actually.
Had that not gotten done. Wow. Sorry about that. How I was rolling too. How much?
You were
how-
rolling.
You
How
were
Yeah,
long was I
I'll trust you
Yeah.
when you say that.
Yeah, well, you brought up me and my countdown, so I just assume you had nothing but glowing remarks about myself and just I'm just an all around great guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Also, it's
Right.
Yeah. It's different to see just the Luke name tag instead of the @Luke.
Yeah, what's that
_Spinman
about? I was
name
gonna
tag.
say
That's a-
something.
Yeah.
Are
So do you guys remember last week when I was trying to figure out why my computer was so slow? You remember that?
Was
I'm
it
trying to-
because your name
Well,
had too many
no,
letters?
yeah, that's what it was. I cleared everything. I cleared the cache, the cookies, everything. It logged me out of everything. So
Yeah, that's
this
what the
morning, the
cookies are
past
for.
45
Yep.
minutes. Every new website that I go to, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, Gmail, you name it, work email, I've had to re-log in. So it made me re-log into StreamYard. It made me put my name back in there. So yeah, I'll have to change that because it doesn't feel right, does it? Something's
A
a
bunch
little
of technical wizards on this friggin'
Yeah,
pod.
watch out. Geek Squad right here. This is Geek Squad. This episode brought to you by Geek Squad.
Jeff has a good comment about my internet connection being poor. Jeff, your thumbnail just makes me nervous. I don't know what I'm putting on the screen exactly, so
We already put Jeff on the screen. Don't worry about it.
okay.
Well, he said blame Arif, so he had to put it up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I agree with.
Luke
Jeff's
did a great
cooking here in
job.
the chat, I think.
Luke did a great job with the button. Was that true? I don't know. I think Macho
No.
Meach is messing. He's
Macho's trying to get
screwing
you
with
to
us.
play the
Appreciate you,
button.
Macho. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Hard reset here. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about this preseason game. Should the starters play? Will they play on Saturday against the Raiders, 3:00 U.S. Bank Stadium? We don't know yet. JJ McCarthy's been a little coy about it. He said he hopes that he faces a pure vanilla defense, which, by the way, is hilariously already being used by Raiders Twitter as bulletin board material. JJ McCarthy called the Raiders.
There's bulletin
defense
board material
vanilla.
for a preseason game?
That's why it's hilarious. Is that Raiders Twitter has chosen
Did they
to take
know?
that quote?
Do they know?
They're like,
Is
how
thi-
could
is
JJ
this their
McCarthy
Super
say
Bowl?
that? This is Antonio. Well, I guess there's rumor about them playing the starters, which complicates what the Vikings would do.
I
what
don't
they
know.
would
I
want
actually
to do.
don't know if that actually complicates the Vikings because having their backups play the Raiders starters actually might. Like, it'll be good for McCarthy, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I think
I'd
so.
take that.
Yeah, you can,
We'll
you
get
can
smoked,
glean a
but
lot
it'll
of
be
good
good for him.
information.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he
Honestly,
deserves to
it'll
get,
still
like, slapped
probably be
upside the head.
better than facing
Yeah.
Flores' blitzes and aggressive, exotic looks. He'll still probably
No.
prefer playing the starters.
Patrick Graham is not a boring coordinator. I just think Flores is a special kind of insane.
Specials will work.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean,
Like
obviously
Patrick
it
Graham
was
is a
like-
creative play
Oh.
caller. Brian Flores
Appreciate
is a maniac that shouldn't walk the free streets.
Right. Like, obviously, it was a joke about how nutso Flores is. And, yeah, compared to literally anyone else, it's going to be a more vanilla defense. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, if they want to make a big deal about it, they can. But if that means, like, Max Crosby is playing against David Questenberry, I mean, JJ McCarthy's going to learn really quickly, I guess. Right?
It's really an offensive line thing, right? Because who cares if it's Johnny like who cares if you have backup tight ends, third and fourth receivers, backup running back? That's fine. It's really an offensive line question. Do you want to give JJ McCarthy adequate protection? Do you play the interior and sit your tackles, O'Neal and Darisaw, and let Ingram and Brandel and Bradbury play to give them some semblance of a chance to give him a clean pocket? I think that's your main question here, is how much O-line do you put at risk?
I mean, we know what the Vikings will do, though, right? Like, this is all just theoretical. They're gonna
Right, yeah,
they're
we're
gonna
talking
sit starters and maybe some backups. They'll go really hard in the joint practices with Cleveland.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know, will Questenberry even suit up? That guy's old.
Yeah, no kidding.
Actually,
no,
that's a good point. Yeah, Walter Rouse to the rescue, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have Walter Rouse and what, like Jeremy Flax? Like,
I think he's a guard.
I
guess
think
he
you
was
bring
a
up. I
tackle
think you bring up a
No,
great
they've
point.
got
though,
a
Luke.
Melissa tackle.
Like I think those team
okay.
scrimmages, those joint practices, have slowly kind of taken place for a lot of the live reps against different opponents. Not just for the players, but obviously for the coaches too, right? In their evaluation. So these preseason games, when it comes to playing the starters, it just seems like they mean less and less as time goes on. Those joint practices, though, those are almost the ones that you'd rather be at and rather be able to watch, because it just seems like you're going to glean a little bit more information when it comes to the starters.
Well, I mean,
specifically.
Kevin O'Connell said this, like, was it last year? Or it might have even been 2 years ago. Where, like, he said the explicit reason that they wouldn't play starters in the preseason is because they've got all these reps with in joint practices, and that those reps are more valuable because not only do you get to control the situation, like you can't guarantee that in like the 2 drives the starters will play that they'll see a third down, right? Like you just don't know that a third down will appear, right? And you certainly can't guarantee, almost certainly won't even have a 2-minute drill, right? but you can work with the coaches that you've invited over to your place to make sure that there's a session dedicated to third down.
You get to build your own blueprint. You get to build the entire what your preseason game, quote unquote, looks like, right? You get to build a whole game plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
that Niners joint practice in 2022, man, it was just so fun because joint practices, again, I mean, yes, they had been going on for years, but that was like the first big one. You had all the big names from the Niners coming in. Bunch of national media came in. Remember, that's when they dubbed Darisaw the next Trent Williams and everything else. But those joint
Darisaw dubbed himself the next one. Like, let's be clear about this.
That's true.
T-Bass hopes the starters do play a little in the preseason because of the way they looked at the start of last season. And this is kind of what Kevin O'Connell has. He's alluded to this, though. Like, he said he wants more physicality in the training camp. I don't know if that means games. He gets it in joint practices. Reports are they've practiced harder. I think there's some validity to wanting to change the way he's going about it, because last year they limp out of the gates. They're sloppy offensively with the ball security. Defense got torched in week 2 and week 3, and arguably the second half of week 1. So I think there's some validity to that. I think in 2022 they were slow out of the gates too.
The thing about the preseason is I think the reason we value it so much as like a training thing is because we can see it, because it's on TV. But like really the key difference between the preseason and like a joint practice session and getting your reps in there, which by the way, will probably be more reps than a starter would play in the preseason in a normal setting, is that it's visible to us, so we don't have to worry about our object permanence going away from us. It involves like the game operations, like the sideline, like calling timeouts and stuff. But maybe the biggest difference is that in the joint practices, you're not tackling as much and you're not getting hurt as much. And if they've been more physical, we have to point out that a bunch more players have been injured. So do we want that?
I'll also add, like, when you look at the beginning of the last season, right, and you take a look at like why the Vikings stumbled out of the gate, I actually don't think it has anything to do with being rusty. Like, explicitly they said the defense was bad because of the scheme that they were using, and they changed it for like week 4, right? And then the defense got incredible.
Famously.
Yeah. And so, like,
the Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert game, like, broke Flores' brain, and he went, okay, we have to change stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, like, that is a radically different defense. It has nothing to do with how warmed up they were. And also, like, I mean, some of the players were very warmed up. Like, I know they went 0-3, but, like, do you remember Kirk Cousins was magnificent in those 3 losses? And also the rest of the games he played? Yeah. He was astounding, right? Like, he was incredible. And so, like, I mean, he didn't need the preseason, right? Like, he was playing the best football of his life. Mm-hmm. Jefferson didn't need the preseason. He was playing outstanding. So, like, did Darisaw need it? Like, who are we talking about when we say...
The key to all of it, and it really comes down to this, is that they're using the, like, poking paddle thing in practice more this year to mimic stripping.
Yeah, Wes Phillips doing his darndest to...
Is that our new loser
He's,
punishment?
like, stanced up in in there.
The loser has to put pads on.
Now they run through like
we all buy them on Amazon.
2
we get
gauntlets
pool
full
noodle,
of rubber cones.
You just whack them.
I think preparation, like, we don't know enough about how teams practice and prepare for games to be like, practice isn't good enough. It's like, what about practice isn't good enough? There are so many other things that they can change, like what they've tried to do in camp. There's so many other changes they can try to make to not have a start like last season. But also, I think losing 3 games in a row by 1 score, where, like, if TJ Hawkinson catches that touchdown and they win, we're not saying this. And also, they started really hot in 2022 and didn't play the starters, right? So we're 1-1 on this.
I would argue they looked pretty bad
in the preseason. He would have caught that touchdown against the Buccaneers.
I guess, yeah.
Ear infection really caused this. I would also say in 2022, the week 2 clunker followed by the week 3 sleepwalk. That, remember, they had 3 good minutes at the end of the Detroit game. They kind of looked crappy in like 2 of their first 3 games that year too. Just for the record, to put that out there.
I do not remember that about the 3rd game. I remember thinking,
it was
wow, what a bad team this still is.
The Lions were up 10 with
Was that the
3 minutes
KJ
to
Osborne
go.
game winner?
KJ Osborne, yeah, and the Vikings scored twice late.
Is that the
after-
one where Jameson Williams got one of his 8 catches for the year?
That
Probably.
was the next Lions.
That
game.
was the next
Oh,
time because
okay.
he was suspended, wasn't he?
Oh, that's
was he
right.
suspended?
Yeah.
Or was
So
that
we
this
didn't
past
actually get
year?
to see.
He was,
Or
either
he was
hurt-
still
coming
hurt.
back from the ACL.
He was still hurt, yeah.
Yeah.
Hurt.
Coming
Yes.
back.
Yes, suspended in 2023.
Right. Yeah. So we didn't get to see.
Well, if you're
Jameson
giving the Lions
Williams,
that
like many
game,
teams.
then you have to acknowledge the closeness of all of the 2023 games too, and realize this is entirely a moot point.
I will not acknowledge that.
I refuse. Nerdy stat of the day makes its triumphant return when we come back on the Minnesota Football Party. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. So you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They've got all the tools faster and for free. Not your normal job board. LinkedIn is able to reach users that might not be actively job searching because they see it on the site. 70%, in fact, of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. Really, LinkedIn is where it's at. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire like a pro on LinkedIn. Small businesses have to wear a lot of hats. They might not have the time or resources to do a thorough job search manually. LinkedIn gives them the tools to make it easy. That's why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Make sure to subscribe. Locked On Sports Minnesota. We'd appreciate that. Get us to 8 million subscribers as we pivot into Nerdy Stat of the Day.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
with the nerdy stat of the day.
Was excited about this one today because I've got a decent one. Here we go. Mike Zimmer led Vikings from 2014 to 2019. We know the preseason record was positively gaudy, 20-5, an 800 winning percentage. So they go 3-1 in 2019. 2020, they don't have a preseason, COVID. 2021, 0-3 under Mike Zimmer. Shocker. Kevin O'Connell comes in. 2022, 0-3. 2023, 0-3. So it has been, gentlemen, 5 calendar years since the Vikings won a preseason game. 2019.
Oh, actually, that stat rules. That's great.
I love that.
I think
yeah.
the bettors would really like that too.
I was going to
Like,
say, are you trying to get us to gamble on preseason games again?
Yeah, that's not.
I saw
Well,
the
I mean,
Raiders were
I guess
5-point
are.
favorites.
5-point favorites? Oh, they're
Yeah,
giving
if they're
money
going to play
away.
starters,
Okay.
that's probably low.
Oh, they're giving money away. Okay. All right.
How about
That's
this?
pretty crazy. I'll just never forget the early preseason Mike Zimmer era. First of all, I'll just never forget sitting next to Arif Hassan, the guy over there. You can see him right there in the corner, for the Teddy Bridgewater comeback game in the preseason. Everybody, I'm assuming, knows what I'm talking about, the Charger game. There was a Raider game, actually, as well, that preseason, where Teddy had an unbelievable comeback and led us to the game winners. But those early Mike Zimmer preseason games were so much fun. Not just because I was in attendance, not just because Teddy Bridgewater, but they were just fun football. So
Was it
that's
the
what
Cardinals that he rookie year that like crazy comeback? Yeah.
The comeback, yeah. I
Who-
think he threw it up to
Rodney
Rodney Adams?
Smith?
Rodney
Rodney-
Smith.
no, Rodney
Florida
Smith.
State, 6'5", 230 pounds, something like that.
He was supposed to make the
You
team
remember
over
that?
Adam Thielen, right?
Yeah, no, it's as if I rehash this argument every single year because I won it.
18 seconds left, a 2-yard pass to Rodney Smith. Blair Walsh, extra point failed, by the way. But yeah, still won
that
by 2
game.
points. Unbelievable. 7-play, 83-yard drive. The Cardinals had
Incredible.
scored with 1:11 left.
What
on
happened the
clock.
next time Teddy was supposed to lead a comeback against the Cardinals? I think Matt Cluel gave up an instant sack. I think that's what happened.
On a
And
And it was not the
third
first
down.
time that year.
That's
Uh,
right.
Zimmer called out Norv.
Thursday night football. Was that
Hey,
Thursday? It was a
That's
prime
great.
time.
Thursday
Yeah,
Night
it was
Football.
Thursday Night
We
Football.
all
stat-
watched that at Joe Sensors. I was with Arif, and I think Luke, you were there too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
My
Omaha
nerdy
days.
stat is
Uh-huh.
only a stat in that a number is involved, and then after that, it doesn't actually work. 33. That is the name of the website that Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo left for. 33rd team.
Wait,
That's
really?
crazy. Yeah. Announced
Wow.
this morning.
Wow.
Oh, I have
Working
not
with
seen
Rick
that.
Spielman? Is Spielman still working over there?
No, he's working for the Commanders now.
And CBS Sports. All of the GMs and coaches, aside from like Mike Tannenbaum, that work for 33rd Team, don't really like work for 33rd Team or produce enough content for me to consider them content creators for 33rd Team. But no, yeah, they've taken their wildly popular podcast and left it with PFF. They're starting a new RSS feed. So they've got a new podcast. Sam and Steve over there. I wish them well. This is a meteoric move. End of an era for PFF, and I'll be writing about the end of the era for the Wide Left Substack.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
That's seismic. Wow.
Yeah, that's huge. Good for them. Congrats. That's awesome.
The exodus continues from PFF. Luke Braun.
Yeah.
there's-
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the other day, Alec Lewis came out with an article about the pistol and the possibility of the Vikings
Yeah.
taking it. It was a great article. Part of the evidence of this is essentially like, look, Kevin O'Connell, McVay guy, and what McVay did last year is something I can't really get out of my head, especially with them moving from Dalton Reisner to Blake Brandel, despite having both of those guys on the roster again. Blake Brandel is the guy. Here's part of the stat. The Rams, who have deployed the pistol on 24 total snaps from 2018 to 2022. 24 times they used the pistol.
That's so many times.
Not even once a game. From week 7 onward last year, they used it 105 times.
Oh,
Crazy rise. And last year, Sean McVay, purveyor of the wide zone, used gap running 58.5% of the time. Totally different rushing offense in Los Angeles. I think it worked better for them than it has for them in the last couple years. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a move for Kevin O'Connell now as well. With a bigger guard, big tall guard, bigger guy pulling. Blake Brandel can still run. He can still pull fine. Despite being a larger guy than Dalton Reisner, who struggled sometimes getting too wide on those pulls, and maybe even using the pistol to be able to get some of that under center rushing benefit, more time for Aaron Jones to set things up, assuming he still has the speed to close that extra space, which by every report we have in camp, box checked, I can see the vision.
Where is that?
interesting-
Yeah, that's super interesting. Where is 58% wide zone? Where does that kind of rank? Is that like easily number 1 in the league kind of thing? Or is that like...
I have no idea.
I was just curious. I didn't know.
Yeah, so
Like,
the
great.
percentage is not something that I could manually pull it together,
Yeah,
but I
no,
pulled that from PFF, which tells you how many snaps of zone and gap everybody has,
Yeah.
like on their team page. But I'd have to like do data
yeah,
analysis for that. And
Don't do that.
right. So the rise in power correlated with the rise in pistol makes a ton of sense. When Chris Alt ran pistol at Nevada, right? It's Nevada. Nevada. I think I'm supposed to pronounce it Nevada. That's what people from Nevada say. I don't like that.
Nobody says Nevada.
Nobody.
Yeah. It looks like Nevada, so I like that.
Bovada, Nevada. I guess, yeah. You love those offshore.
That was the logic I was using, Sam.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's a power running scheme, which is what made it really interesting when Colin Kaepernick came from that scheme, went to the 49ers. A bunch of people were like, oh my God, you could do, zone read. And it's like, well, neither the 49ers nor Colin Kaepernick actually did zone running the 49ers did everything at the time, but they were very much willing to play gap/power type stuff, and they played into that when they got Kaepernick to do pistol stuff with them. So the way that those angles work, the way that the running back attacks seems to just be a little bit better positioned for gap style running. But you do have read elements available to you because the quarterback is still facing the line of scrimmage, which is a critical element of the read element of those plays. So I find that interesting. Just, the implementation of pistol seems to be correlated a lot with gap style running.
Oh, T-Bass says he thinks that O'Connell's going to give up on running by the third game. Try the third quarter, buddy. He's not going to run the ball a lot. He's just going to use different ones.
Look at his avatar picture, though.
He's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be
He's been very mad in the chat all day about.
Well, okay. I will say this, T-Bass. I think that you should put in thicker red lines for your avatar. I think that would get the message. Like, that's a really thin X. And I feel like if you're going to X out a person as your profile pic, it needs to be like much clearer that you're doing that. I did want to address one other comment that we got in the chat from Conman255. What did the 3 other people do during ad reads? I eat. That's when I have breakfast, is when Sam is reading.
Well, did you see the answer from somebody else? It was a pretty good answer. They just stare at the wall like the end of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Also
which is kind of accurate as well, too. So that's actually not that far off. I was trying to wing one. I was trying to pull up that crazy AJ Rose game, but in the process of doing so,
Asim Rose Jr.
Wow, how do you know that? Who are you?
Is he a cop now? He wanted to be a cop after.
We should look into that. In the Vikings' last 9 preseason games, they've had the same leading rusher in 8 of those games. Do you guys want to take a stab on who that is?
It's a Mike Boone style stat.
No, wait.
So the last 9 preseason games, the leading rusher of that game for the Vikings, obviously, has been the same guy in 8 of them.
So
it's got to be Ty Chandler.
No, it's Madison, because Chandler wasn't around for 3 years ago.
Oh, right, because for 9. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right? Am I right?
Nope. Ty Chandler has been around 2022, 2021,
ding, ding,
2022, 2023. Dwayne McBride had that 9th game. Dwayne McBride with 37 yards. So anyways, my fantasy preseason running back pick, Ty Chandler, looking good here. Looking good. Great track record.
Okay.
Chandler's been here since 21. Really?
2023.
Well, he didn't play a role in the first
2022.
year.
AJ Rose, by the way, most recently with the Montreal Alouettes, which he did not make the team.
I've got a question, preseason topic. Are the Ravens still like undefeated, like a 22-game win streak in the preseason? Where are we at with that? Did they lose one?
I think so.
Great.
Did they finally lose last year?
I think I might be confusing that with Zimmer finally losing one in like 2019 or whatever.
No, 24 straight preseason games they've won going back to 2016. What is the money line on a Ravens preseason game now? Minus 1,000?
I don't know, Sam.
I've got a tool.
Like the person who would know.
I've got a tool for that. It's called FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com boosts and bonuses every single day this summer.
Is that one of our ad reads, or did you just do that?
That's not one of our ad reads. That's an organic,
one of our sponsors.
Organic promotion of a very good partner we have here at Locked On. So the Ravens are underdogs against Philadelphia in their first preseason
The streak.
game.
How that line?
Jack Payton in the chat is correct. They did lose 28-29 to the Commanders last year.
This was the Monday Night Football game where the Commanders kicked a last-second field goal to win.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was right, Luke. Okay.
Yeah, August 21st. You're right. August 21st, the streak ended. 24-game win streak snapped. You're right. August 21st versus the Commanders. You're right.
Ron Johnson in a moment. We're going to make some preseason predictions with Ron coming up on the other side of this pause on the Minnesota Football Party. We are presented today by Gametime, which is the spot where you can get Major League Baseball tickets, but also preseason tickets to get in U.S. Bank Stadium. Looking at the app right now. For $13, you can get in the door. To get into a beautiful stadium, see some football, take your kids, that's a pretty good price. You can also sit lower level, very close to the field, for about $70 at U.S. Bank Stadium. Again, don't get many opportunities to do that in the regular season. If you're on a budget, this is a great opportunity to get some great seats for preseason football. You can also go and get some great seats at Target Field as well for Major League Baseball. There are great deals all the time at Gametime. The in-app deals called Flash Deals. They give you deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And they've got last-minute deals as well. Save 60% when you buy last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and plenty more. Lowest price guarantee, great customer service and ticket coverage with Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we welcome in our guy. Ron Johnson joins us now for his Thursday appearance. He's the host of the Ron Johnson Show. Had a great interview on Tuesday with Jeff Schwartz. Talked a lot of Vikings football. And the Gophers coming up soon, too. And Ron will be joining us on the Gophers and Vikings postcast, hosted by our own Luke Inman. Good to see you, Ron. I know you've been out at training camp of late. What have your keen eyes been observing?
Well, we don't really have a wide receiver 4 or 5 legit right now. I'd say Brandon Powell and Jalen Naylor are both fighting for that 3. One of them's going to be the 4, that 5th receiver. Not too sure who it's going to be. I don't think the guy's on the roster. I think it's probably going to be somebody that gets cut most likely, and they probably pick up, knowing that probably it's going to be a 4 receiver rotation unless that 5th receiver is a true special teams guy. Other than that, defensive backs as well, they're very thin, but Brian Flores is going to get a lot out of that group as a whole. You can see him moving pieces around. The other thing is that I think we're going to see a lot of the most of the veterans in this first preseason game are going to play.
You think so?
Oh, they're going to play.
Yep.
Okay.
That was a big discussion point earlier in our show. Ron, we're going to make some predictions here for the preseason. Do you have anything that you think is going to happen? And maybe if the veterans are going to play, you can toss in a prediction about one of those veterans. But what does your spidey sense tell you about Saturday's game?
Well, I think it's going to be look at the offensive guard spots. Right now, you got Blake Brandel and Ed Ingram. They moved Dalton Reisner over behind Ingram. I think Reisner is probably, if Ed Ingram struggles, I think Reisner is going to end up playing himself to the front of that line, and Ed Ingram becomes the swing guard. Last year, Blake Brandel was the swing guard. I think this year it becomes Ed Ingram. I think Dalton Reisner has shown he can be a great asset in any offensive line room. And I think being behind Ed Ingram and Blake Brandel was just arbitrary until they get to these games. I feel like when you watch the one-on-ones and some of the stuff going on, Dalton Reisner just has a little bit more pop, a little bit more spice to his game. And, I think that's one thing that we're going to see with this first group of offensive linemen from game 1 to game 2.
Couple predictions from me, and I'd like to go around the horn with this, actually, hear what you guys have to say. I think Alexander Madison will hurdle Andrew Booth Jr. during this game. I think Madison is going to hurdle somebody for sure, probably Andrew Booth Jr.
I think Lewis Cine is going to be active just for that role right there. Just for that role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you picked the wrong 2022 defensive back.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Zach Charbonnet in the Seattle preseason game met Lewis Cine in the hole, and it did not work out great for Lewis Cine.
Yeah.
But
I think that play genuinely got him benched for the whole year.
It might have. It was rough. Yeah. Jay Ward, his last preseason game versus the Cardinals, had a fantastic game. 8 tackles, a sack off a nickel blitz, a pass deflection. I think Flores is going to continue to get him a ton of reps, move them all around, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made a couple splash plays, I guess, versus the Raiders.
And I wonder if Ward is like truly ingrained in that cornerback switch, or if they still view him as a safety, because the depth chart they put out did not reflect the change, right? It said safety. It did reflect the N'Keal Harry change, but not the Jay Ward change. So I don't know where he's landed there. But maybe that's part of the reason they brought in Bobby McCain, is because they thought Ward might be switching to corner. That's a good one though, Luke. I like Jay Ward, and I think that's another guy that could make Lewis Cine expendable. And Ron, we were talking about that on Tuesday, how, Lewis Cine could be playing for his life in this preseason.
Yeah, and being out with injury, like we said, doesn't help. That puts you behind a lot of guys. I think right now, that Bobby McCain, I think he's going to end up in front of Lewis Cine. So it doesn't help at all. But yeah, Jay Ward playing corner is similar to Josh Metellus playing linebacker. I think you have your position that you are, but Brian Flores is like, look, I need you to play this. I need you to do this. I think it depends on the coverage as well. Like I've said, I think Jay Ward, not saying anybody can do it, but I think he's a guy that could play cover 2 as a cornerback, because you're really just trying to jam the crap out of the outside receiver, or you're taking the next receiver coming to your flat area, and then you're trying to rob that deep corner route. And what better team to do that with than your own team with the Vikings, when you have a guy in Justin Jefferson that runs absolutely nuts corner routes. And so it gives him the ability to be able to see, feel. By the way, I will say one other thing that happened yesterday was Justin Jefferson ran a corner route, and it had to be one of the most ridiculous catches. Coverage was great, all over him, draped over him, and Justin Jefferson still turned his body. And so I'm hoping that's more of a trend for Sam Darnold to realize, like, look, let me just put this on this guy's side and let him make the play, because Justin Jefferson can do it. Funny, a couple plays later, you see Tristan Jackson in a similar situation where he runs, and then he's coming back, like pointing at the quarterback, like, just throw it to me, just throw it to me. And then we all watched it. Not we all, me and Gabe watched it on the big screen, because you can see the big screen on the sideline where we were. And so we looked and we're like, that dude wasn't open. Like, I don't know what you thought you were. Like, you are not Justin Jefferson. There was a safety over the top. The only reason he ran was because of the throw to the flat. Like, he threw it to the flat. The deep ball was not the throw. The flat was the throw. But I'm like, also, when you're the 5th receiver, you don't come off the field pointing at the quarterback and making a whoop, as if like you're Justin Jefferson. So I was like, man, like, calm down. Like, I get it. Like, he's been here for a while and he feels like he's a part of the team. But man, stuff like that can easily, especially when it's caught on film, can easily, come up like, hey, man, like so-and-so just got cut from the Rams. Let's go get him. Or so-and-so just got cut from the Dolphins because, or the Ravens or whatever. Let's go get him. Like, calm down, man. Just watch film later, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, I see why he didn't throw it to me. There's a damn safety over the top that I didn't notice. But yeah, no, some of those are some of the observations I've seen is the way the offense runs when Justin Jefferson's running the routes versus when these other guys are running the routes.
That's interesting. That's good stuff from the field from Ron. Luke, you're like the king of, and this is Braun. You're the king of wacky predictions. What do you have for Saturday?
The Vikings will suffer 87 penalty yards. More than half of which Andrew Booth will be responsible for.
Wow, we're really we're taking it to Andrew
pretty
Booth
specific
here.
I love it. What's the value?
It's
what are the
specific
odds I'm getting on
preseason
that?
predictions.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I guess there's kind of
Need a good pass interference and a 15-yarder for getting in a fight. That'll do it. And then, some false starts around. Penalty, preseason's always sloppy.
Wow. Hey, Sam, was the movie you're talking about, was that the N'Keal Harry moving up to tight end too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a depth chart surprise. He's ahead of Johnny Munt on the tight end depth chart. That was
in the unofficial one that they posted.
Yep, the Vikings one. Yep, he is.
Oh.
Yeah, Ron, you've been talking up N'Keal Harry.
Yep, you'll see Saturday. I don't want to say too much because I'm not going to say any much more, but there's been a lot of stuff going on at TCO that people have been like, hey, be careful of the stuff you're sharing. So because I have the access now, I got like the family and friends parking pass, I got the team badge to kind of walk across the field and blah blah. So some of the stuff I know, just watch Saturday, you'll see, because I know I'm at a different angle than what some of the media guys even are. Just watch Saturday though. You'll start to because Mike Pettin and I, we talked for about 20 minutes after practice, just because he was my coach. Nothing like football wise, people. I'm not trying to get intel from Mike. But he, and that's where I'll say, you like, pay attention to the starters that play. That was one of the things that he said to me, like, just watch the starters that play and watch what moves around. So keep an eye on N'Keal Harry. Just watch how they use him. I talked to CJ Ham for a little bit as well. He's the only fullback on the depth chart. So just pay attention. Like you'll see some stuff.
So if Ham does play, as you're mentioning here, Ron, that would be kind of important because the past couple of years they've been in a full backless offense in the preseason. I think
Correct.
Ham has sat all the games. They can't do any fullback stuff, and that would make it a lot more regular season like if he does play. So that's a very subtle, good point that you're making. That changes.
Do you think that moves the line? CJ Ham, how much? What's he worth? Like 2 points on the spread?
At least 1.5. I was going to say, yeah. Well,
what
now you're
CJ
opening
told
up
me,
the
CJ
playbook.
told me he's ready to go. He's ready to run routes. He's ready, so just I don't know how much they're gonna deploy him this game or even the preseason. But he is because he even told me, he said normally, there's 2 or 3 fullbacks they try to bring in during mini camp, and then they cut one, and then 2 of us come to camp, and then they, he said what ended up happening was they keep cutting the guy before the first preseason game, so it wasn't even worth it now. So they just said, screw it, let's go through camp with just CJ Ham, because why play that game, and let's keep 92 other position guys that we know we need, which is 8 tight ends. But when you look at what they're going to try to get out of some of these guys, I think the biggest thing is, how does Sam Darnold operate with this group? How does JJ McCarthy operate with this group? And I think that's going to be part of it. The Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall thing, I think Jaron Hall is kind of going to get pushed to practice squad unless he asks to be released to go to another team. So it looks like Nick Mullins is going to be QB3 as of now. If I were Jaron Hall, I would try to get to the Steelers, because that's 2 other quarterbacks that do exactly what I do. Move in the pocket. I'm short. We run. But yeah, I don't know if he can get that request because Brandon Ayuk is trying to take up all that money. But yeah, I don't know what his plans are if he's willing to just be on practice squad as QB4.
One of my predictions that I wrote down was actually that Jaron Hall does so well in cleanup duty in the fourth quarter that there will be one article written next week asking about a Nick Mullins trade. There will be Nick Mullins trade speculation.
I think they're already coming.
Because of Jaron Hall.
Now, when you say article,
and
what do we?
Are we talking like
Classifying?
Like credentialed outlets here, or can
no. No.
Okay, so any random
rando,
WordPress website set up 3 weeks ago. Okay,
it's gonna be written by Jaron Hall. That's
Jaron Hall's dad writes a Ben's a
author.
column
Definitely not
the
Jaron
BYU
Hall.
Inquisitor. The Vikings should trade Nick Mullins.
Yeah, the Mormon Inquirer.
I got to get a good prediction out of Arif here.
Mormon Magazine.
We're done.
Mormon Magazine.
Man,
by the way, did you guys see there's a Mormon reality show coming out?
I did.
What?
Actually.
Incredible.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And the funny dark web, people that search the web for stuff, the girl, one of the pregnant lady, and some of the, I don't know if you've seen the spoof online stuff they've been doing on Instagram, the pregnant lady in those videos was the same lady that did the TikTok dance when her son was in the hospital on breathing tubes with RSV.
Oh, wow.
I'm like,
Arif. Yeah.
So cringy.
Yeah.
I know Arif knows the dark net stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember her. Yeah, the lady that was dancing, talking about my son was on breathing tubes. And everybody made fun of her. Yeah, she's a Mormon. Allegedly, I guess. I don't know.
Allegedly.
Legally, we don't know.
I think my specific prediction is that Theo Jackson leads all Vikings players in picks over the course of the preseason, which it could be 2 picks, right? But I like it. I think that one makes sense given kind of how often they're playing and how
if he
talented
plays
Theo
enough, I'm all over it. I agree with you. I think he's just so
he's-
supplanted as
might
a
have to.
quote unquote, guy.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
in
he
that
might
sweet
have to.
spot.
50s.
He's right in
right
that sweet spot where he's he's not. I don't think he's a guy that they're benching going into a game, but they want to see what they have with him. They want to give him a lot of reps. I think he's the perfect preseason.
Well, put it this way: did anybody draft him in our preseason fantasy draft? Did anybody take Theo?
No, who
No.
would do that?
I think we all. I don't think anybody took any DBs.
My prediction,
I
though,
took
my
Jay
cleanup duty prediction is Trent Sherfield leads the receivers.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, that
That's
would be
good.
good. For
He's
Luke
somebody
Hunt.
that has sunk a little bit in that depth chart.
He has. But I watched him in practice yesterday. I'm going to go today probably because Brian McKinney is in town. Also got to talk to Robert Tate, who was one of my teammates with the Ravens. He's in town for the week as well. And so we were both watching kind of the slot. And Trent Sherfield looks good. His biggest issue is the choice routes, understanding the coverage, what route to run in the choice route. Because I keep seeing a lot of
issue.
Yeah, I keep seeing a lot of errant throws. And for the fans, they assume it's McCarthy. It's not McCarthy. It's the decisiveness of the choice, because there's 2 choices sometimes within the same coverage. So you got to be decisive in what you're going to do and not hesitate. And it's a lot. And so that's the one piece of what I got from some of these guys. Man, it's a lot of choice routes in this offense in the slot. And so for Trent Sherfield, if he can figure it out, he can lead this team in the preseason, because he's going to be that guy in the slot when Justin and Naylor and Jordan Addison are on the bench.
Ron, tell us where we can see and hear you coming up for Vikings preseason?
Well, we'll be at the stadium early, so I'll be on my Instagram, 3Ron Johnson, giving you guys early, like Devontae Adams walking to the stadium, because we'll be down on the field at noon. I don't know why. Noon for just some random like spots and hits and commercials. But yeah, you guys can check us out. Vikings Game Day Live. Just Google it. Vikings Game Day Live will pop up. It's streaming. It's also live TV. And then, of course, the post-game show on iHeartRadio with this year, Nordo. Norquist is Corey Cove is no longer doing it. It is now Nordo and myself doing the post-game. And then the postcast, people. Check out the postcast. Did talk to, I will say this, talked to Aaron Jones yesterday, him and his twin brother, Alvin. Got Alvin Selly, got Aaron. They both text me, hit me on the Selly. Alvin Jones and Aaron Jones are going to come on the Ron Johnson show. So we're going to get Alvin first. After I told him let's get a game in at home first so he can get the feel, because he's been in a bunch of stadiums with Aaron. He was a former Raven as well, so he and I connected on that. And then Aaron Jones and I connected on the fact that Nick Perry, who was one of my friends from high school, he's younger than me, but he went to my high school. He was Aaron Jones's kind of guidance guy when it came to contracts, and he said the minute the Packers stuff happened, he thought about Nick Perry. Like Nick Perry told him when he came in his rookie year, hey, this is a business. When it's time for you to get your money, just be careful. And he said last year, and this is the other, I love this. I'm not going to say the whole thing because we were really, really talking for a while. Met his family, met Justin Jefferson's brother. It was cool. He said, I only had about 12 to 16 carries last year in some games, and I can get work done. I didn't want to say it, but I was like, well, we had a back here last year that needed like 25 to get going. So 16, if you can get going on 16, this is going to be a really good offense. And he said that's why he picked Minnesota, because he knew how the offense ran. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great stuff, Ron. Felt like we got some really good nuggets today. That's awesome. We'll talk to you again next week, reacting to what we see on Saturday. So we'll be watching you on TV, hearing you on radio, seeing you on the postcast. You're everywhere, man.
Yeah, looking at Mike Pettin talked about these quarterbacks for the Raiders. So Aiden O'Connell, but I think they said they're going to start Gardner Minshew. He said they've been told, the defense has been told Gardner's going to start, and then Aiden O'Connell's going to come in after. So their defense, they're putting out there, the starters, they're preparing for Gardner Minshew, for the whatever Minshew Mania is what it was called or something like that. So, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that this Saturday. Just check this defense out and how they handle Gardner Minshew early.
Yeah, let's watch some football in about 48 hours. That's awesome.
Well, the Lions play tonight, I think, right?
Do they?
I think so. It's a 7 p.m. kick for the Lions.
Oh,
so
I think you're right. Actually.
Panthers or
Thursday
Patriots,
night
I think I saw.
preseason
Oh,
football.
it's Panthers Patriots. Okay.
The Lions aren't back tonight though, or is that?
I think it. I don't
No,
think
you could
so.
be right.
I just saw a Dan
games all
Campbell.
week.
I saw a Dan Campbell meme, and I assumed it was Detroit. It was like my face tonight at 7 p.m. and it was like Dan Campbell making a stupid face. So I'm guessing.
Oh, this is just NFL Network. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's two games tonight. Panthers, Patriots, Lions, Giants. There's games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not Monday.
And if you see, so this joint practice intel I got, if you see Vikings players playing that weren't going to play in the preseason, they got into a fight. So Kevin was like, I got some punishment for y'all. Y'all think 200,000? No. You're going to play. You fight, you're going to play.
Is that what happened to Johnny Mutt?
I don't know.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
Oh, but yeah, they're prepared for the fights because they said they've been warned by the NFL for these joint practices. And so Kevin was like, screw this money. You fight? All right, you're going to play this whole game.
All right.
I got some punishment for you.
Za'Darius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson over there in the trenches trying to mix it up.
Hey, that's going to be nasty. That's going to be nasty. And that's probably when they're going to figure out who their offensive line is. That Browns week. Oh, man. Yeah.
At 3 Ron Johnson on X. Thank you, Ron. Good
Appreciate
stuff as usual. See ya. In closing, any other depth chart surprises from the team issued depth chart? People say it doesn't matter, which it doesn't in like an official capacity, but I think it still sends messages. Like Andre Carter
it's something to go off of. Yeah, it's not the end all be all, but it's something for sure. Yeah, I mean,
AJ Green was higher than I thought.
AJ Green was a little bit higher,
clear above like Duke Shelley,
above Duke Shelley,
and Dwight McLeodern.
Actually,
yeah,
like the fan favorite corners are banished to the fourth team, and you got like Jacoby Francis up there in the threes.
Yeah,
Gabe Murphy over Andre Carter. Sam, I don't know if you just said that.
I just like preseason depth chart so
surprise.
much. I didn't even look at this one, so I don't believe that they're signaling here.
Tanyan and Hawkinson as the co-1s, with Harry
That's
and
cute.
Oliver as the co-2s, and Munt with the 3s. I thought that was all kind of interesting.
That's cute.
Reisner listed as the backup at right guard, not left guard.
Yeah.
So if Reisner's going to
moved
get
him
on
to
the
the
field
side.
this year, it sounds like he's got a better shot to do it at right guard than
I think he's the first guard in if either of those guys get hurt. But as somebody pointed out in the chat, still hasn't taken a first team rep. So I don't know how much competition it is. Just kind of maybe a light a fire under you kind of guy.
Jashawn Jones, the one fringe receiver to work his way up to the level of the 3s, with Sherfield and Tristan. And the reports from the Will Raggett's practice recaps, still the best on the web, are that Jashawn Jones has looked really good.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
sounds
If
like
they
he's
end up
fantastic.
keeping 6 wideouts, it's going to be an absolute dogfight for those last 2 spots behind, Jalen Naylor and Brandon Powell.
Yeah.
I guess that would really only be
Who has
let's see.
Jashawn Jones on the preseason team?
I've got that.
Got
right
him.
here.
Oh, rough.
Second to last pick of the draft.
SOD, SOD.
I don't
The
remember
other specific prediction I was thinking about was a Tristan Jackson drops one because he always messes it up in the pre. He always has a good enough camp to
Yeah,
look like
true.
he's
Camp
staring
and
right
then-
at a roster spot,
Yeah.
and then he'll screw up a route and drop 2 passes in a preseason game and get cut.
It's perfect.
Has anybody lost someone from their team due to injury? I think I don't know what Lewis Seen's health status is. That could hurt me. I think
you
everybody
pick
else.
Lewis
Lewis Seen?
I took Scene as
Oh,
a bit.
wow.
Remember, you guys
Oh,
were
as a bit,
You guys,
okay.
As a
you
big
guys
respect
were ripping him, and I
Yeah.
said no. I believe in him.
Oh,
I-
right. Now I
I-
remember the bit.
I no
Right.
longer
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
in him.
Very good bit.
Well, he has to make
No.
the tackle for the tackle to count for points. So
It's true.
Should we have just an arbitrary negation if somebody gets visibly trucked defensively?
Wait,
minus
point.
points.
A deduction.
Yeah. I
Yes,
like
we
that.
should.
It's the missed
Yeah.
extra
I love
point.
that.
It's the missed extra point, minus 10. Yeah.
What's the deduction?
I think it's
Five?
-1.
Two?
No, I
One.
think it's
Okay.
-1.
A
-1,
reasonable
yeah.
deduction.
Yeah,
Because you made the rest of the play okay.
Yeah, you've probably helped the team get the tackle. In all honesty,
Yeah.
but
The cost of your
it's
own
funny
embarrassment.
and embarrassing. Yeah,
I just added
There you
it
go.
to our ledger.
perfect.
Excellent.
We're gonna have
Minnesota
to keep an eye out for that because it's not an official stat, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching so closely.
Got pancaked one.
I love
Chat will help.
preseason fantasy.
Chat will help us.
Yes.
That will spare no opportunity to dunk on one of us.
Yeah, we will take it sort of like golf. Like you can write in things that you see on TV, and we will review it. You can do that.
How is
Submit
that like golf?
in golf. If you see something on TV that looks suspicious, people can write in their observation to some
my
kind
God.
of report line and say, "Hey, so and so affected his lie." with
They've
the club.
instituted snitching, and that's the sport I would
Couch
expect that in, I
snitching.
guess.
Welcome
Which
to
is-
the
That's just
PGA.
crazy.
I need a
So-
New
oh
York
my
Times feature on golf couch snitches, like the way they do Wikipedia editors.
Right, I do this for the love of the game, and then a little inset next to the photo, Jeremy Pivens has caught 27 cheaters.
65 divorced.
The inset by the photo, the whole thing. Oh, that's so good.
Got it on my speed dial.
We do this craziness live Mondays and Thursdays at about 10:30, 11 a.m. Central Time, typically. Big thanks to Ron Johnson who joined. Good stuff from his access position on the field with the Vikings. Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hassan. I'm Sam Ekstrom. We'll be back on Monday for this show and on Saturday for the first postcast of the season. Luke Inman hosts. Can't wait for that. Thanks a lot for watching and listening. Talk to you next time.